2020. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Kurtz,
Here.
Mr. Strollo,
Here.
Mr. Natale here, Mr. Mercado,
Here.
Mr. Bowman, Mr. Bowman, Mr. Dawson, Mr. Dawson, Mr. Carderas,
Here.
Mr. Linder. Mr. Linder, I see you here. Okay, Mr. Linder is here for the record. Mr. Tedisco.
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Downs.
Here.
Mr. Selmont.
Hello.
We have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Nation,
under
under
God,
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 Individual.
visible,
liberty, and
Yeah.
justice for all.
this is school.
All right, first order of business tonight is the special permit modification of Rondo's Realty LLC, 1721 Highland Avenue, for a parking lot expansion for the restaurant. Do we have a call for that, please?
We do. The special permit modification of Rondo's Realty LLC, care of David V. Carson, OCC Group, Inc., 2091 Highland Avenue, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410 for parking expansion for existing restaurant property located at 1721 Highland Avenue, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 11, lot number 19, in an I-1 zone. Packet information available for review on the town's website homepage under documents distributed or displayed during virtual meetings.
Thank you. And who do we have on the call to represent Rondo's Realty?
I don't know where those guys are. It's Dave Carson, so I got somebody coming in under a cell phone. Let me see who this is, okay?
All right.
Hello, who's this? 860-601-0191. Who are you? Nobody.
All right. You want to, we'll skip over them. We'll
Wait,
come
we
back
did
to
it.
them.
We did invite him, Mr. Chairman. You might as well move on to the next item.
Okay. So let's move on to number 2, zone match change petition for Ricky Construction Group, 687 South Main Street, R20 to R20A. Mr. Talley, do we have a call for that, please?
Yes, sir. The zone map change petition of Ricky Construction Group, Inc., care of Scott Nolan, Malone, and McBroom, 99 Realty Drive, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, to change the zone from R20 to R20A, property located at 687 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 71, lot number 32, in an R20 zone. Legal description for 687 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, attached to legal filed in the town clerk's office and available for review under packet information available on the town's website homepage under documents distributed or displayed during virtual meetings.
Thank you. Do we have anyone representing Mr. Ricky?
Good evening, everyone. It's John Mylone here for the applicant.
Good evening, John.
Hello, all. Would you like me to just go ahead, or you want to do something first? Earl, how do you want to handle this?
I think if we hear your testimony first, and then if we have comments or in the record, we can take care of that afterwards.
Okay, I believe everyone knows this parcel. It's just under 3/4 acre, about 30,000 square feet. It's a vacant parcel. There's been some recent activity. They're doing some removal of vegetation and demolition. It's the site of what was always called the former underground gas station. It was a gas station that kind of was not visible from Route 10, but was accessible from the west side, kind of lower than the elevation of Route 10, and it's been abandoned for some time. The uses adjacent to it on the north are medical office, on the east are general office. And to the west of it is a parking lot that is associated with the medical office to the north. And to the south is the Brookshire Condominium 1, the open portion of the land associated with Brookshire Condominium, right on the corner. And then there's one single family residence kind of to the southwest. The property along Route 10, north of this, extending for some distance, is zoned R20A. And even the property to the south of, to the west of this is R20A out to Higgins Road. The property to the east of this is R20A. This site is kind of a leftover piece that's zoned R20. It would appear logically to have at least been part of the R20A that's contiguous to the north and abuts it to the east, but for some reason it was remained as R20. Not probably a practical location for what's permitted in R20, which is one single family home, given the signalized intersection that it sits at and the uses both to the north, east, and the parking lot to the west. This application represents a proposal to rezone it to R20A, which would allow some alternative uses, medical office, maybe some multifamily residential. It's a smaller site, so it would not be a very high intense development. It'd be a small kind of infill development, regardless of what it is. But it seems like a logical zoning for the property. As you can see on this illustration that was just put up, the R20A zone, which is on the west side of Route 10 to the north of this site, extends, kind of surrounds the property. The property is almost cut out and left over as an R20 zone. I know that's a fairly simple explanation, but I wanted to keep it simple, and I'd rather just answer questions. I would also like to say that the plan of development does address this parcel and mentions that it probably would be better suited for an alternative zone, the R20A zone, to allow alternative uses here. We are not proposing any specific use tonight, just the zoning.
Okay, thank you. Bill, do we have any stuff to read into the record on this?
No, Mr. Chairman, there are no regionals or anything like this. The zone change is not within 500 feet of any boundary. It's really straight up application as you see it.
Okay, comments, questions from commission members? Anybody? Okay. Seeing none. Do we have any comments from the public on this application?
No, Mr. Chairman, no comments.
Okay. All right, John, anything else to add to this, or?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions. I think it's an opportunity, and anything we do there under an R20A would be a special permit application. So there's an opportunity to review both the design, the architecture, the appearance, the use, obviously. So I think this is an opportunity to add an attractive use to this location, something that can be an asset for the town and be visually attractive. So I'm hopeful that we have that opportunity to come in with a subsequent application that the commission will review under a special permit and a public hearing application.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense. Everything else around it, R20A, it is kind of out there on its own. So,
Mr. Kurtz, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I was on mute. I couldn't get myself off mute. So, quick question, John. Any residual effects from the gas station being there? Is there any contamination, anything going on the property, or is that all set?
Yes, there are some residual effects from that. It's been gone. We did not do it. Our firm did not do it, but a separate LEP did extensive review over there. There is some residual issues, but they are not emanating from the site, and they're deep enough so that they're not practical to be excavated. So that any development there would be restricted in terms of excavation and the types of foundations. So we probably have buildings would be on slab. We would be not doing any cut. We'd be building at grade or slightly infill, and not extending into any of the contaminated soil during the construction. those details, when we have an actual use, we will have sections and elevations to show both the building official and the commission how we intend to do this so that we do not disturb any of that soil. But it has been gone through a fairly extensive review, and the uses, whether it's residential and or an office use, are permitted on the property as long as it's constructed properly.
So if I may ask, what are the contaminants, sir?
It's leftover petroleum. Yeah.
Okay, and as you said, as part of any application, we would see a report on that and any of the above.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that information will be made available to the commission when they bring in a specific application for development.
Yep.
You will have the reports from their LEP, and you will see how that influences the way they're going to design the property. So we'll make sure that the commission gets that for the development application. We do agree, by the way, with John's summary of the reports, but we'll give you more specific information when they bring in a development application. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other commission members? Questions or comments? Okay, I guess I'll be closing this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, if I may, I was
Yes.
able to get Dave Carson on the phone. His computer's not working, so we won't be able to see him, but looks like he'll be able to do a verbal testimony, and we'll try to assist him as much as we can, so.
All right, we will jump back to number one. We've already heard the call, so Mr. Carson, if you're available, let's hear the presentation.
Yes, sir. I apologize. Got all the way to sign in, and it just wouldn't make the connection. But good evening, Commissioners. For the record, I am David Carson, one of the principals of the OCC Group. The plan before you this evening is for the further expansion of parking facilities for Byron Rondo Osteria. This expansion has been made possible by the acquisition of a half acre of land from the adjoining parcel to the north. A portion of this area had previously been leased for temporary employee parking with the hope of possible expansion and formalization in the future. And that has now become possible by the acquisition of this piece. Since we were hopeful that this piece could either be leased or purchased in the future, prior to our most recent expansion, we had done a master plan in-house to assure the fact that if we were able to do this lot, that we could interconnect it with the existing parking facilities, and we have been able to accomplish that integration and actually improve the overall circulation between those upper parking areas. As noted on the plan, the area to the rear of that parking area closest to Reinhardt Road will be principally used for employee parking. The rest will be obviously available for customers. This expansion would add 60 spaces to the existing 180, bringing the total to 240 spaces. At that number, a major traffic generator permit will be required for over 200 parking spaces. We have already been in preliminary contact with OSTA regarding this, and pending favorable action by your commission, we will be proceeding with that particular process. As far as the parking lot itself, it will be lit using the same lighting fixtures and lighting levels that exist in the existing parking lot. There was a comment from the fire department requesting that the external island be provided with mountable curbing, similar to the islands in the initial parking lot, and it's been so noted on the plan. There is also a stormwater management system, an underground system, which is similar, almost identical to two other systems that have been previously installed for these parking expansion. That has gone to a review consultant for an outside consultant hired by the engineering department. It was initially reviewed, and we made revisions October 8th based on their initial comments. They subsequently came up with some additional comments, which I have discussed with Don Nolte. We are prepared to make those, and I believe Don has forwarded planning a letter stipulating that if that those could be made conditions of approval if the commission was so inclined. I believe that fairly sums up what we are proposing to do here. I certainly would entertain any questions by the commission.
Okay, thank you.
I want to,
Some comment.
good. I was gonna read the comments in.
Yes.
As, Mr. Carson mentions, the engineering department is now using a consultant called Anchor Engineering, to assist them in review projects. They had some comments, which I'm gonna read into the record. I'm also gonna confirm that, Don Nolte from the engineering department is, satisfied that these comments can be addressed as conditions of approval. I will read them in. It's a letter dated October 12th, 2020. Dear Mr. Nolte, Anchor Engineering Services received the following information prepared by OCC Group. Incorporated Site Development Plan set dated September 10th, 2020, revised to October 8th, 2020. Hydraulic report dated September 9th, 2020, revised through October 8th, 2020. Based on our review of the revised information, we offer the following comments. The detention system is proposed within glacial till and fractured rock based on the test pit profile. Recommend that the system include an under drain at the bottom of the system to ensure that the system empties between storms, and the analysis ignore infiltration. 2, please verify that the volume available within the isolator row below the overflow weir in manhole number 1 is adequate to treat the entire water supply volume. The weir is proposed in elevation that would only include a maintenance schedule for the proposed stormwater system on the plans. Tech M3500 detail recommends a min of 9 inches of stone below the chambers. 4, please verify the total volume available in the proposed detention chamber system. The total storage volume available included in the analysis appears to be large storage volume per the manufacturer and per the system dimension proposed. 5, recommend additional information on the plan to ensure that the stormwater flow during construction is directed to the lower sediment trap instead of directly into catch basin number 1 and 2. 6, the final hydraulic report should also include the hydrograph reports as presented in the original submission. If you have any questions regarding the above comments, please don't hesitate to call. This is from the professional engineer, lead engineer from Anchor. Don Nolte has reviewed the comments and states, based upon the applicant's agreement to satisfy the attached engineering comments as a condition of approval, the department takes no exception to the parking lot expansion proposed. Operations manager. This is dated October 14, 2020. So he has reviewed the comments. He has discussed the satisfaction of those comments with the applicant. He is satisfied that the conditions, if the commission wishes to use these as conditions of approval, that they will be able to satisfy those requirements during the construction phase. I'd also just like to tell the commission that, as Dave mentioned, this has got to go to OSTA because there's now over 200 parking spaces out there. OSTA will begin to review this application as the municipality finishes. I do have comments from the Cheshire Fire Department dated September 23rd, 2020, from Jack Kasner and Mike Kozlowski. The fire department has reviewed the above application for the planning and zoning process, recommend the following comments and stipulation. This application is approved. Code compliance plans must be submitted to the building official and fire marshal's office for construction. One, there is limited turning ability in this proposed parking area. The islands will need to be flat and mountable to allow emergency fire chief or his designee. Wait, did I have anything else? I think that was it. And those are it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Commission members, questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Mr. Kaderis.
I just, through you, what is the seating capacity of the facility?
Mr. Card?
I'm not sure. I have to look at the plan. Well, their parking is far in excess of what they're required to have in terms of their capacity. They do exceed that. John, are you concerned about that?
No, I was, it just always seems to be completely filled up. And I know that it's over the minimum. I just wanted to know what the capacity of the facility is.
I don't know.
Mr. Carson, any idea?
No, I can't answer that question either. The one thing I can relate just from observation, especially because since COVID-19, I noticed that they attempt to get people in and out of the restaurant more quickly than normal, which has actually led to, oddly enough, a backup of people waiting. I think they are serving an awful lot of people because of the way they're operating the facility. And I was there a Friday, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. When I came out, it was an early dinner. There were 52 people standing in line. So there are actually more people in the parking lot than the capacity of the restaurant. That's kind of what's happening.
I've noticed.
I think we all have.
Okay. Mr. Cowell.
With the height of the new parking area being so tall, is there any safety measures so cars don't inadvertently come down into that lower back parking lot?
Okay, so realize, I know it's a little difficult perhaps in looking at the grading plan, but we are bringing that level down to approximately 4 feet above the other parking lot. So it's getting cut down, way down. Oddly enough, the existing grades out there at Reinhardt Road and at the easterly end of the parking lot toward the building are actually the same grade. There's a big, gigantic hump in the middle that's getting cut down in the neighborhood of 14 feet in elevation. So there's a very small transition between the two parking lots. At the request of the Don Nolte, we will be providing barrier protection between the new upper parking lot and the lower parking lot level that's behind the existing building. That will still have a slope similar to what is presently there now, that landscape slope. So at the top of that slope, there will be barrier protection. But the rest of it, the perimeter is basically on grade.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other commissioners with questions?
Yes.
Mr. Natale.
This may be for Bill, I'm not sure. But Bill, in the staff's report, you mentioned the ADA requirements. for
Yep.
for facilities between 201 to 300 spaces to have 7 parking spaces to be used. Now, is there any concern? And again, I know that it's going to be slightly higher, and in the staff report it mentions ramps and stairs. Is there any concern about ADA compliance for the employees if that's going to be employee parking lot?
Well, there's no, first of all, yeah, there's no ADA spaces in this part of it. The ADA spaces have to be at the same level as and in proximity generally to where the ADA entry to the building is. And Dave makes a good point. They're coming down quite a bit. It's not really that much higher. So there are no ADA requirements that they have to meet here. So.
Okay. And how many ADA parking spaces are there right now? Are there 7 already?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
7.
so
Yeah. So
there won't be an
he's
increase in
within
the
the
number of spaces then.
He's within the range required by the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, for this number of spaces, this number of total spaces. So it'll be okay. Remember, employees are entitled to the same use
Yes.
of those handicap spaces as anybody else is. They cannot, if they're handicapped, they cannot be excluded legally from using those spaces.
Gotcha. So as long as they're under the regulations, that's just the responsibility of the owner, and if the owner decides to put in more spots, they can to accommodate. If not, they're within the guidelines.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Tedesco.
Mr. Burke? Yes. We got some other materials, I guess, today in this, which I've looked through. Has runoff been adequately handled because of this new paving? Has the runoff issue been addressed properly?
Runoff?
Yes. There'll be
ahead,
an
Dave.
underground. There'll be an underground stormwater management system so that post-development flow, there'll be a 0 increase in post-development flow. Be the same as pre-development.
Thank you.
Okay, any other commission members? Okay, I don't see any. Do we have any public comment on this application?
Suzanne, anything? No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so with that, I will be closing this public hearing. Thank you. Moving on, we're going to take number 3 and 4 together. The special permit application of Counterweight Brewing earth removal waivers, section 25.5.9, and earth removal, filling, regrading, Counterweight Brewing LLC 7.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, you would also allow them to do their site plan presentation at the same time, though that is not a public hearing.
Yep,
Correct. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll read both together if that's okay. So number 3, the special permit application of Counterweight Brewing Company LLC, care of Anthony J. Fazzone Esquire, Fazzone Ryan and Merchuti LLC, 2 Town Center, Cheshire, Connecticut 06410, for an earth removal waiver, section 25.5.9, for a brewery property located at 7 Diana Court, Cheshire, Connecticut, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 11, lot number 29, in an I-2 zone. Packet information available for review on the town's website homepage under documents distributed or displayed during virtual meetings. And number 4 is the earth removal, filling, or regrading permit of Counterweight Brewing Company LLC, care of Anthony J. Fazzone Esquire, Fazzone Ryan and Merchuti LLC, 2 Town Center, Cheshire, Connecticut 06410, for earth removal, filling, or regrading permit and waiver request of subsection 9 under section 25.5. Property located at 7 Diana Court, Cheshire, Connecticut, is generally shown on Assessor's Map number 11, lot number 29, in an I-2 zone. Packet information available for review on the town's website homepage under documents distributed or displayed during virtual meetings.
Okay, thank you. And representing Counterweight Brewing tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record, I am Anthony Fazzone, attorney practicing law here in Cheshire. This is an application for a brewery. It's a recently enacted back in June section 58A of section 30 of the regulations. And as stated, there's a site plan for the brewery. The brewery itself is subject to site plan approval. There is some earthwork that has to be done, including the removal of pile of material that was there from, seems to have been there from the original construction of the original building. And we are asking for a waiver of section 9 of the earth removal regulation, because there is some grading adjacent to the road. With that, move to Ryan McAvoy. He will go through the site plan and the earth removal operation.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Ryan McAvoy. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Marlona McBroom. And just want to walk you through the site plan briefly as I can. The map you have in front of you is a colored aerial representing the existing conditions of the site. The orientation of the map is with north to the right. So to the left would be south. Diana Court, which the majority of the site fronts on, is on the bottom of the sheet, which is to the east. And to the west is primarily undeveloped land. And East Johnson Avenue is to the extreme north of the property, or on the right of this map. Currently, the property includes a small office and warehouse light industrial building with a fairly small parking lot, focused mostly on the northern side of the site. To the south, there are some stockpiles that have been there for some time. Adjacent properties, adjacent uses to the property on the east, or on the opposite side of Diana Court, include an office building and to the northeast, a residential property. To the west is a light industrial building with the majority of the site being undeveloped. And to the south is an industrial bakery. All properties in the vicinity of this are in the I2 zone, including this property. The significant element to the site and restriction to the site is 2 easements located almost parallel to Diana Court, being a 50-foot wide gas transmission easement and an electrical distribution easement, which puts some limitations on the property in terms of grading restrictions and landscaping, which I'll touch on a little bit later. In terms of elevations, the site drains from west to east towards Diana Court, with a high point in the southwest corner of the site at 170 and a low point of roughly 145 in the east central portion of the site along Diana Court. All utilities are available: natural gas, public water, sanitary sewer, and there are wetlands on the site, primarily in the northwesternmost part of it, really what amounts to a small drainage ditch to capture runoff from properties to the west. And a wetlands permit was granted by the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. The plan you have in front of you represents a colored rendering of the proposed site conditions. What we're looking to do is keep the existing building in place, which will be used for office purposes for the proposed brewery, Counterweight Brewing. And then Counterweight seeks to build a 20,000 square foot brewery on the south central portion of the site, which will be connected to the existing office building with a greenhouse-like structure and a large sort of patio area. As part of this brewery, it will include a tap room or tasting room, which is a small portion of the overall size of the building, but certainly has a high demand for parking. In this case, we analyzed the use of the property for the brewing operation as an industrial use, the tap room as a restaurant use, although I don't know if it exactly meets the standard of restaurant, but it certainly seemed to be the most appropriate approximation for this style of use, and also some minor office component in the existing building. And the result is that we need approximately 108 parking spaces on the site. We're proposing 118, excuse me. So a little bit beyond what's required by the regulations. We are installing a new parking lot adjacent to the existing building, a new parking lot to the north of the existing building, and larger parking areas to the east and south. The south side of the building will also include loading areas for tractor trailers and small box trucks. And there are parking spaces on the extreme south side of that parking area, or the left of your screen. And while we don't show parking spaces for customers along the southern side of the building where the loading docks are, we do anticipate that, given the operations of Counterweight, that there may be an additional 20 spaces available if there's a large event that coincides with the time when deliveries aren't scheduled. So the parking spaces we show do not conflict with any of the tractor trailer or box truck turning movements. But if there is an event that requires more parking spaces than what the use would otherwise demand based on regulation, there is more space on site for some overflow parking. As I mentioned earlier, the gas easement and electric easement on the east side of the property, or the bottom side of the sheet, do represent a pretty significant restriction in terms of what we can do with the property. In particular, the gas company has strict limitations on proposing additional fill or excavation over the gas pipes themselves for obvious reasons of access and cover over the pipes. So we're essentially matching existing grade on the whole eastern side of the site in an effort to maintain the agreements associated with the easement itself. That, and along with the desire to keep the new brewery at a similar elevation, or the same elevation as the existing building, results in the need to excavate in the southwest portion of the site. In addition to the stockpiles, which have been there historically or are on the site today, that, along with the excavation in the southwest portion of the site, result in about 8,000 cubic yards net of export in order to construct the project as proposed. And some of the excavation, the majority of the excavation, is in the southwest corner, which will result in a 2-to-1 vegetated slope adjacent to the parking lot and near the properties to the west primarily. That portion of the property to the west is undeveloped. There is a stone wall that is roughly parallel to the property line, and the resultant slope of 2-to-1 can be vegetated and is not a risk to the property adjacent to this site. So we feel that the waiver request is appropriate given the restrictions on the property, the inability to fill significantly over the gas line and elevate the brewery beyond what we show in the plans. Additionally, the site plan includes a detailed landscaping plan, which meets the requirements of the zoning regulations for shade trees and parking areas. Going back to the gas easement, we are limited in terms of the placement of shade trees within that. They do clear cut those gas easements periodically, and we're limited to small shrubs and decorative grasses within the easement itself. And this plan you see in front of you represents a colored version of our landscape plan with a line of decorative grasses between Diana Court and the parking lot, with some shade trees where we can place them without interfering with existing utilities, existing easements, or proposed site features. Lastly, with the increase in parking spaces, building coverage, et cetera, we do have a change in coverage that results in an increase in stormwater runoff. To mitigate that, we have proposed 3 distinct underground stormwater storage areas that are sized to allow for no increase in runoff for up to the 100-year storm event. And all stormwater will be directed on site to these underground systems via a standard pipe and catch basin system and a proprietary oil and grit separator contact unit will be installed prior to the underground storage area to provide adequate water quality, flow to trap oil, floatables, sediment, etc. All designed in accordance with the 2004 DEP quality manual. With regards to the impact on traffic, we did provide a traffic report prepared by Dave Sullivan of our office, and his findings based on the proposed use, proposed traffic generated based on ITE or Institute of Transportation Engineers manual, that this use, along with proposed uses that are not yet operational in the vicinity of the site, namely Whole Foods and a medical office building on West Johnson Avenue, that the impact of traffic from this development will be minimal. In fact, there'd be no discernible change in level of service, certainly on East Johnson Avenue and out to East Johnson Avenue and Highland Avenue. So that's a brief walkthrough of our proposal. We do have a standard sediment erosion control design for this site. It's relatively straightforward for small sites like this. We did get approval from the Cheshire Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission and also from the WPCA for sewer feasibility. So I understand that the public hearing is tied to the grading operations, and I've given you a brief run through on the site plan. We do have Rob Borghese of Borghese Builders available if you have any questions about the proposed building itself. And also we have Matt Westfall from Kennewick Brewing if you have any questions regarding the brewing operation itself. So if there's any questions of the commission, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Mr. Mercado.
Those 3 round circles on the south side, are those holding tanks? What are those?
Those are grain silos.
Oh,
Matt, if you could introduce yourself, name and address for the record.
Matt Westfall from Connerway Brewing Company, 279 Matthew Street in Prospect, Connecticut.
is there sewers or is this septic? What do you have for sewers in this?
There's public sewer available in Dynacourt, and we're going to be connecting into the public sewer system. We have gotten feasibility approval from the WPCA, so we're in good shape on that. We will be required to go back for final approval and award of capacity. That usually occurs after planning and zoning approval, if granted.
So there's no trucking of any waste water or anything like that off the site?
No.
Thank you.
Any other commission members with questions?
Yes. A couple questions. So as far as the lights, lighting plan, the lights are going to be conforming to our regulations, facing down?
Yes, they're standard LED lights, no spillover on adjacent properties. There's a photometric plan that was submitted as part of the application, but this is a pretty standard lighting scenario.
Okay, the second question, just I know that as part of the application, there's possibility of having events there, which I guess includes music. What is the closest residential property to this site?
And the only real residential property in the vicinity is, if you look at this plan, the lower right-hand corner, there is a single-family residence on East Johnson Avenue. It is an existing non-conforming use in the I2 zone. Beyond that, I believe that there's another residence further west on East Johnson as you get closer to Highland Ave, but beyond that, I'm not aware of any other residence other than the one I mentioned to the east and one a little bit further from this site to the west off the sheet that you're seeing.
Okay, so would there be any, with the limited residential, would there be any kind of limitations with the types of events or, the times for those events? Bill, that may be for you.
We have nothing in the regulations to do that. I guess it really matters for that perspective. What does the applicant anticipate they're going to do on the site? But we don't have any regulations to preclude them doing that. So
We don't really.
About what, go ahead, Matt.
We don't foresee a lot of loud outdoor events. Most of the lighter music would be inside and most likely not affect any of our neighbors.
And I believe I read in the application and in the information we received today, in the area between the two buildings, that's where the outdoor seating would be.
Correct.
Thanks.
Chairman?
Yeah, Scott again?
Is there going to be any kind of food? Is there a restaurant in here? Are there food trucks? If there's food trucks, is there area for parking of those food trucks? Do they take up customer parking spots?
Yeah, what our plan is to have rotating food trucks as we do in our current location. How they operate currently at our current space is they usually take up about 2 spots when they visit us. And then as far as indoor food, we currently have a food service license that allows us to heat very limited menu items, but it's only in the event that a food truck cancels or somebody's not available to service our customers in that regard.
Thank you.
Okay, any other commission members with questions? Bill, we have comments to read in the record on this one?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Fire Department dated September 24, 2020. The Fire Department has reviewed the above application for the planning and zoning process. We recommend the following common stipulations. 1, fire hydrant will need to be installed in the area of the fire department connection, final location to be approved by the fire chief or his designee. And 2, fire department approved emergency buoy boxes will need to be installed and maintained, final locations to be determined. Let's see, I have engineering department. We had comments again from Anchor Engineering. They had, let's see, number of comments that were addressed. We did get a, let's see, what did I do with that? A letter from Don Nolte dated September 23rd, 2020. This department concurs with the attached review comments by our consultant. We suggest that they be considered for incorporation for conditions of approval if the Planning and Zoning Commission grants a permit. And let me find their comment. Hold on.
Do you have a question once?
Okay.
Sean, go ahead.
The existing building that's there on the site, I know you're incorporating. Are they doing any changes to that building, just branching off and joining the two with the greenhouse?
There's no proposed changes to that building other than a door in order to connect that greenhouse.
So on that building right now, there's like I'd say like a garage on the left-hand side of that existing building. So that's going to be like is that going to be turned into offices, or that's just going to join in to the other part?
The garage door area would connect the buildings. The rest of the building would be the office space.
Okay, so the garage area will be like where people sit also?
That'll be closed off as you enter the new building, and that'll be overflow storage for us.
Okay. And then on the new building, on the left side, the distance between the parking spot and the edge of the building is how many feet, Brian?
Oh, it's the parking spot. My scale with me, it's over 100 feet.
It's over 100 feet?
That's right.
Okay. And as far as like deliveries and stuff, I mean, on those big tanks, do they come in with tankers, or they come with a box trailer to deliver the things to make the beer?
There will be. Oh, you want to take that, Matt? Or
yeah, I'm asking Matt now. I'm sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, sure. We have basically trailers that come in with our bulk grain that would fill the silos, and they get blown pneumatically into the silo. We get those usually maybe once a month, and the silo's worth will last us roughly in the new space about 30 days.
Okay, and that blower thing that works, they're kind of loud. I mean, when does it usually deliver? Just normal hours?
Yeah, currently we only accept those deliveries Mondays and Tuesdays so that we don't interrupt any of our other business.
So it's during the day though.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. I mean, even though the resident's not conforming, we just want to make sure that, look out for him a little bit. There's one more thing. As far as the parking, right? Right now, you're going over on the parking. At your facility now, how many parking spots do you have?
Currently, we have 65 parking spaces.
And that's full most of the time?
I mean, it really depends on seasonality for sure.
Well, I'm sure with COVID, no, but like I'm saying, when you're at capacity.
Yeah, I mean, typically during the winter months is our busier tap room time because we don't have a current outdoor space, and I would say we use probably about 75 to 85% of those spaces normally.
Okay. Thank you very much for answering the questions. Thanks, Ryan.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to read the engineering comments.
Yep.
I have some comments for regional water, but these are the revised County comments dated September 23rd, 2020. Based on a review of the submitted information, we offer the following comments. 1, under drains are proposed in 3 storage systems due to the unsuitability of existing soils for infiltrations. Due to the proposed depth of the system's potential for groundwater infiltration into the systems, it is recommended the designer consider wrapping the systems, especially systems 110 and 120, with an impermeable liner. It may also be prudent to install the under drain upgrading of these 2 systems. 2, please add a note to the plans that prior to construction, the manufacturer of the water quality unit should submit proposed structures with calculations, documentation verifying the 80% minimum of the average annual total suspended solids will be removed from specific water quality flow to each unit. This will ensure that the specific site conditions are included for the manufacturer to verify the sizing of the specific treatment structures. And 3, an additional sediment trap and calculation should be included for the area east of the proposed building between the 2 easements and the area detention system 130 to prevent direct flow onto the roadway during construction. We do not feel it's necessary to review a revised submission regarding these recommendations. Those items could be included as conditions of approval. If you have any questions regarding the above comments, please don't hesitate to contact me. It's Denise Lord, professional engineer from Anchor Engineering. And as I noted, Don Nolte is satisfied that these can be included as conditions of approval. And I do have some comments from the Regional Water Authority dated September 3rd, 2020. R.E. Counterway Brewing, 7 Diana Court. The Regional Water Authority has reviewed the above referenced application. The property is within the North Cheshire Aquifer Protection Area. The applicant is proposing to construct a 20,000 square foot building and related parking for a brewery. A brewery is an allowed use in the Aquifer Protection Area. Stormwater will be managed using infiltration galleries with a hydrodynamic separator and isolator row to act as a pre-treatment prior to infiltration. The building will be heated with gas connected to the sanitary sewer and served by public water. Based on the information submitted, we have the following comments. 1, the erosion control plan appears adequate. 2, the stormwater management system is acceptable to the Regional Water Authority. The pre-treatment of stormwater prior to infiltration in the Aquifer Protection Area is highly recommended by the Regional Water Authority. 3, during construction, all fuel, oil, paint, or other hazardous materials should be stored in the secondary container, removed to a locked indoor area with an impervious floor during non-working hours. 4, if fuel is to be stored on site, it should be located within a secondary containment system to prevent leaks from entering the environment, sheltered from precipitation, and in a secured area. The free fueling of vehicles is to take place. A dedicated refueling site should be established on a paved impervious surface. 5, in the event of a spill or leak, immediately report spills of hazardous materials to the following Regional Water Authority control room at 624-6671, state location of spill, estimated amount of material spilled, type of material spilled, and the status of the spill. B, Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, Oil and Chemical Spills Unit. And 6, the Regional Water Authority should be notified at least 3 days prior to the start of the project. I can be reached at rwalters@rwater.com. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this application. If you have any questions, please email me at rwalters@rwater.com. Sincerely, Regional Water Authority, Ronald Walters. Those are the comments, Mr. Chairman. No further.
Okay, thank you very much. Ryan, you said there was somebody from Borghese on the call. Can you go over just quickly, a little bit of the building, just like tell me where the public is gonna walk in and maybe if there's a separation of, the actual, where the brewing is done and just a quick overview of the building would be great.
Sure. Do you have a copy of the floor plans there?
I'm not sure I have, them, so
Or,
I've got them right here in
Commission
front of me
has
if you
them.
can't pull them up on
Yeah.
the screen.
it's good.
Okay, so the way the building's set up, if you look, right here's the large portion of the building right here. Right here's the small connector. So right here is that paved courtyard area. The main entrance is going to be into here. This being the tasting room, the associated bathrooms with that. So pretty much here's the division between, I'm going to say, the public area and the brewing area. And then in addition to that lower level public area, there is a mezzanine above that that would have another tasting area above that with associated bathrooms. And mixed in with that tasting area in the back are some offices that are directly associated with the brewing process. Same thing down on the lower level. There's some support areas. There's a small lab and office, break room, and tool room. And then adjacent off of this tasting room in the back, that's where that connector building is going to be. That's kind of like a greenhouse. We looked at doing an actual greenhouse, but there were a lot of issues with that. So if you look at the elevations themselves, it's going to be a hard roof structure. The walls themselves will be operable glass doors that can be opened up to where it'll become more like in warmer weather, like pavilion type.
and that's what
space.
connects from each building, that connects the building to the
That's
existing.
going to connect the two buildings. So that actually goes, if you look on this, right here's the main building, the brewery building. Here's the connector, and it's going to attach to the the left corner if you're standing in the road. And what we're going to do is cut in an overhead door to where you can get between the two buildings. But the public area, I'm going to say, is you're really an area 50 feet by the width of the building, which, or the depth of the building, which is 100 feet. There are other, so you have 5,000 dedicated to that public space on the right. The rest is the brewery area, the actual production space.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other commission members, questions? Mr. Ricardo.
Those grain silos, are those milled grains or are they full? You have to worry about any kind of explosion possibilities with them?
No, they go into the silo hole and we mill them inside the building in an explosion-proof room.
Got it. Elevation of these two buildings, are they both the same height? Is one higher than the other, the pre-existing building?
Say that again?
The elevation of the the existing building and the new building.
It's a height difference. I think, Ryan, you've got that on your drawing. I think it's about a 2-foot height difference between the two. Reason being, we were limited, at least Ryan was limited as far as what he could do for grading because of the gas transmission line. So that kind of set the tone for what the height of this building could be. So that connector building is actually going to have a pitched floor in there from one building down to the other.
Thank you.
Okay, any other commission members, questions? No, do we have any public questions or comments on this?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. Mr. Fazone, was that the end of the presentation? Anything else to add to this?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
We
Great.
expect, Mr. Chairman, do we expect that any further input will be needed at the site plan portion of the meeting, at the regular meeting?
We took it all here. I don't see why anybody else would
Yeah,
have
what
other-
you want, is there any more you want to say?
No,
Brian?
no, I just
Okay.
wanted to,
No, it was meant to be incorporated all in one part of it here, so.
okay, thank you.
In case you want to like check out and hang out with your kids, in other words?
Stop my video at least.
I got it.
Okay, with that, I will be closing this public hearing. Thank you. All right, moving on to our last item, a special permit application of Hope Reinhardt, 104 Elm Street for nonprofit use bookstore training. You hear the call, please?
Special permit application of Hope R. Reinhardt, 52 Williams Road, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410 for a nonprofit used bookstore training facility, or training location. Property located at 104 Elm Street, Cheshire, Connecticut is generally shown on Assessor's Map number 64, lot number 268 in an R40 zone. Packet information is available for review on the town website homepage under Documents Distributor displayed during virtual meetings.
Okay, thank you. And representing the applicant tonight?
Is me, Hope Reinhardt, even though it says Lisa Moran.
Okay, we just need your name and address for the record, please.
It's Hope Reinhardt, 52 Williams Road, Cheshire, Connecticut.
Hey, thank you. Can you just give us a brief
Sure.
explanation on here?
We're renting in the lower level at the Watch Factory. It's 2 spaces actually, 104 and 105. It's about 1,600 square feet. We have an entrance and an exit door, 2 bathrooms, a small kitchen. And what we will be doing is hiring and training kids in our community that have special needs to work in a retail situation. And we'll be selling used books and some crafts that the kids will be making. And I don't know what else to say. I guess that's it.
Okay, sounds like a worthy cause. Anyone have any questions on this application? None. Okay, how about comments? Any comments?
No, Mr. Chairman. Suzanne, nothing, right? No, Mr. Chairman, no comments from anybody.
Public, no, nothing. Okay. All right. This one's a pretty easy one. If no one else has any comments, I'll be closing this public hearing. Thank you. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mercado, second by Mr. Kader. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Moving on to the Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting for Wednesday, October 14, 2020. Can I get acceptance of the minutes from our special public hearing and special meeting from 9/29/2020?
Motion to approve both.
Mr. Natale, seconded by
Mr. Mercado.
Okay. Any changes, anything to the minutes that need to be added? Okay, and as far as regular members, I believe it's just Mr. Bowman we don't have here, correct?
Mr. Dawson's not here either.
Mr. Dawson, okay. So we're gonna need, let's take Mr. Anderson and Mr. Selma on this, as long as you were both here. Were you both? Yes, you were both here. So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Unfinished business. Do we have a motion for Rondo's Realty?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Special permit modification, 1721 Highland Avenue for the expansion of the restaurant parking lot. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission finds that the proposal to construct 63 additional parking spaces as shown on plans entitled Site Development Plans for Byron Rondo Asteria, showing proposed expanded parking facilities located at 1721 Highland Avenue and 1704 Reinhardt Road, Cheshire, Connecticut, revised through October 14, 2020, are consistent with the requirements set forth within Section 40 special permits of the Cheshire zoning regulations, and hereby approve this application conditioned upon the following: compliance with comments from Anchor Engineering, who is the consulting engineer for the Cheshire Engineering Department, dated October 12, 2020. 2, compliance with comments from the Cheshire Fire Department, dated September 23, 2020.
Okay, anyone would like to move? Moved by Mr. Ricardo, seconded by Mr. Natale. Okay, any discussion on this motion? pretty well needed, I think, parking up there, that's for sure. I think all of us have been in there and seen the parking situation, so it'd be nice to see maybe clean up the street a little bit behind there if you could get these additional spaces. So I think it's definitely well needed. With that, why don't we have Mr. Selmont and Ms. Downs vote on this to take the place of Mr. Dawson and Mr. Bowman. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Is everybody comfortable with the zone, voting on the Ricky zone map change petition? Okay, can we hear the motion on that, please?
Zone map change from residential 20 to residential 28, 687 South Main Street. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission finds a proposed zone change of the .69 acre property at 687 South Main Street from R20 to R28 will provide for reasonable development opportunities for this property that will be consistent with the existing development pattern in this area, and hereby approve this application. This change is not in conflict with the 2016 Plan of Conservation and Development, and the effective date of this change is November 6, 2020.
Okay, moved by
Move staff wording.
Mr. Tedesco.
Second.
Mr. Strollo.
Strollo.
Okay. Any discussion on this motion? Okay. It seems pretty self-explanatory with R20A right there. It's just like we're putting everything together there. So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 And I'm sorry. We're also going to have, on this one will be Selmont and Downs voting again. All those, let's do that again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimous. All right, we're going to do the number 3. We're going to do the earth removal waiver, section 5.5, subsection 9.
There are 3 total motions for this one. So then 2 of them are similar, but the way the regulations are set up, we set it up for 2 separate things. So we'll start special permit application, Conway Brewing Company LLC, 7 Diana Court for earth removal and regrading under section 25.5. Section 9, the Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission find that the proposed regrading as shown on plans entitled Site Plan Grading and Utilities, Conway Brewing Company, proposed brewery, 7 Diana Court, Cheshire, Connecticut, revised through September 4th, 2020, September 14th, 2020, are consistent with the requirements set forth in section 25, earth removal, filling, regrading, the Cheshire zoning regulations, and hereby approve this regrading activity.
Move staff wording.
Moved by Mr. Natale, second by Mr. Bricado. Discussion on this motion.
Is this are we talking about the site plan on this one? I missed it, or is it just 3 and 4?
No, site plan was 5.
No. There's a separate motion coming on the site plan. This is just, there's 2 on the grading. One's on the grading, one's on the waiver.
Fair
There's
enough.
another motion coming on the site plan, yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion signify by we'll do Ms. Downs and Mr. Anderson on this one. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Number 4, waiver.
Earth removal, filling, and regrading permit, 7 Diana Court, waiver of subsection 25.59 for grading below the elevation of and within 50 feet of the adjoining property. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission find that the proposed regrading is shown on plans entitled Site Plan Grading Utilities, Conway Brewing Company, proposed brewery, 7 Diana Court, Cheshire, Connecticut, revised through September 14, 2020, will not create a substantial risk of damage to the abutting property, and hereby grant this waiver to accomplish this grading.
Moved by Mr. Bricado, second by Mr. Natale. Okay, any discussion on this motion? Okay, sensing none, another pretty easy one. We'll also have Downs and Anderson voting on this. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Number 5, please.
Site plan application, Counterway Brewing Company LLC, 7 Diana Court, for a proposed brewery at 7 Diana Court. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission finds the proposed brewery at 7 Diana Court as shown on plans entitled Counterway Brewing Company, proposed brewery, 7 Diana Court, Cheshire, Connecticut, revised through September 22nd, 2020, are consistent with the requirements set forth in section 41 site plans of the Cheshire zoning regulations, and hereby approve this application conditioned upon the following. Comments from the Regional Water Authority dated September 3rd, 2020. Comments from Cheshire Fire Department dated September 4th, 2020. In compliance with comments from Anchor Engineering, who is the consulting engineer for the Cheshire Engineering Department dated September 23rd, 2020. So I read the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Ricardo, seconded by Mr. Natali. Any discussion on this motion?
Yes. Do we see like building plans of what it looks like part of this, or does that come after this site plan? Or...
No, we submitted those. Those were part of the application. I don't know why you guys didn't get them. You should have received those.
I never saw what this building looked like. You know, does it fit into this area? Does it fit into Chester? None of that. Colors, anything. We didn't look at the elevations. I didn't see them.
Okay.
I got something in here from Borghese.
Yeah.
Showed the elevation, left side elevation, rear elevation. Along, it was attached to the plant schedule.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Well, I don't know why, Rob, because if we sent them to EJ, we sent them to everybody. So.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's just line drawing. There's no color. There's nothing about what the building material is, look and feel. This just looks like it's metal framed. Is that correct? And pretty much like printer ran out of it again.
So are you asking for a better
I mean, usually we go a little depth of, you know, what the building's gonna look like, the you know, does it
Well,
fit?
but Rob, he was just here a few minutes ago, and now you want to ask the question? Seriously, it's fine that you're asking it, but he was just here.
Well, I wasn't sure if there was gonna be more of a site plan, talk about the building itself, the design. Okay, fair enough. Never mind.
any other discussion on this motion? Okay, none. All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. We'll have Ms. Downs and Mr. Anderson again on this one. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Number 6, do we have a motion for a special permit application of Hope Reinhardt for the nonprofit book training?
We do, Mr. Chairman, special permit for nonprofit bookstore training facility, 104 Elm Street. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission finds the proposed nonprofit bookstore training facility in the Watch Factory facility at 104 Elm Street is consistent with the requirements set forth in Schedule A, Section 30, Schedule A, Item 27 of the Cheshire zoning regulations, and hereby approve this application.
Okay, moved by Mr. Mercado, second by
Second.
Mr. Natali. Discussion on the motion.
No, I think it's a good idea. It'd be nice to have a little bookstore like that, a used bookstore. I think it'll be good for the town and for our kids.
I would agree. So nice thing.
I think it's a great thing.
All right, on this one, we will have Mr. Selmont and Ms. Downs voting. in place of our other commission members. So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Under new business, we have the re-subdivision application of Frank Longo, Talmadge Road, 2 lots.
Mr. Chair, would recommend, it's a very simple one, for the, hearing on the 26th.
26th, okay. Anything else to come before the commission tonight?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Another fun Zoom meeting. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Well, Mr. Ricardo, seconded by Mr. Caderas. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.